Okay, your interview is Friday. Interview for a job I never applied for. Hello, I am back with part 2. What's going on, everybody? My name is Olivia Brown, but you can call me Liv, and welcome to Live Abundantly. I'm here to bring you part 2 of the video yesterday I posted for Vlogmas, which was the time I left my job. I shared that I felt like God was telling me to leave my job, and so here we are. Right? So, quick little synopsis real quick. Funny. In 2022, I felt like the Lord was telling me this is your last year for the job. The following year, I didn't really do anything about that. The following year, I got a random call one day. My boss told me, hey, they pulled funding from the program that you were overseeing. Your job is going to be over March 31st. That is the end of the position, March 31st. Don't worry about it, though. We're just going to figure something out so we can keep you so you'll still have a job. I told them, hey, I'm going to leave in faith. My coworker calls me because I ended up announcing to the job saying that I was leaving. Coworker calls me and is like, hey, why are you leaving? What's going on? I'm like, I don't really know. I'm really just about to trust God. We've had conversations about our faith before. So he just really encouraged me and was like, hey, I feel like this is about to be a great journey for you. Continue to trust the Lord. You should check out this ministry. Worker tells me about this church in Akron. So I end up checking out the church. I end up meeting someone who's now a great friend and just kind of share with them my journey randomly. This is a random stranger at this point. I just was like, hey, left my job. Don't really know what I'm doing. He's like, oh yeah, I got some friends who are actually hiring at an organization that's kind of aligned with your passions and things that you previously did at your job. So he's like, hey, send me the resume. So he ends up connecting me to them. We had that conversation on Sunday. On Wednesday, I end up having a phone call with them. Randomly, just telling them who I am, my passion, experience, all of that. Friday, they're like, okay, your interview is Friday. Interview for a job I never applied for. And they invite me out to eat. So we end up going to Mustard Seed. Place called Mustard Seed, and all it takes is a mustard seed of faith, okay, for you to move mountains. And tell my elementary school, like, hey guys, opportunity kind of found me. I think I'm gonna be leaving. Don't really know what's going on, but if I do end up, receiving this opportunity, I'm gonna go after it, and I'm headed out. So they were like, hey, when do you think you're gonna be heading out? And I was like, April 5th. Just throw a random date out there. April 5th. So then at that point, the guy from the organization for opportunity number 2 calls me up, tells me a few things. He's like, hey, I want to get to know you a little bit more. We're planning on making a hire by April 5th. Crazy. So at that point, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing the Lord. And if you want to know the full details of all of that, check the first video out. It's right here. Yeah, that's right. Check it out. I end up leaving job number 1. Then I end up leaving the elementary school I was working at as well. Because I'm just like, I feel like God is backing me up in this whole thing. This was an interview for a job I never applied for. They took me through 3 stages of the interview. Things are aligning. I randomly tell my current job, hey, I'm leaving on April 5th. The people from the company that I just started, apparently that I'm now a candidate for this position, they're like, hey, we plan on making a hire by April 5th. I'm like, I'm hearing God. All of this is aligned. The Lord allowed all of this to happen to bring me into this position. That day was crazy. I remember the Lord just kind of telling me, yeah, just pray. Really just pray. And it was I just kind of felt a little disturbed. I felt off. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why I wasn't hearing back from them. So I just prayed majority of the whole day. And then I finally stopped. And then after an hour or so pass, then I get an email and they're like, yeah, we went with another candidate. Crazy, right? So I don't have a job now. I don't have any of my jobs now. I was devastated, and then I was confused. I was like, God, I feel like you led me this whole way. I just left my job in faith. I trusted you this whole way. I felt like you opened up this opportunity for me. That's why you were like, hey, it's time for you to leave your job. And that's why they pulled funding. I just felt like all of it was purposeful and intentionally aligned. And then for me to get the job, devastating. Also, there was all types of confirmations happening throughout the whole entire process. This company that totally and completely aligns with everything that I previously did, my previous experience of work. But I never even applied for this job. Now I'm just at the house. No jobs. I was sad. I won't say depressed, but I definitely was very sad. So my family came. I didn't want to tell nobody I didn't get the job because they were all like, you got the job. They were all vetting for me. They were all praying. I was like, I'm going to just tell them, y'all, I didn't get the job. And so then they come and they kidnap me and they take me back home. My parents do. And so I just kind of stayed with my parents for like a week. And during this week, I'm like battling in my mind, like, do I trust God? Because I felt like I trusted God this whole time. And then I felt like he just kind of abandoned me. And so I was just battling, going back and forth of like, okay, I trust God. No, I'm confused. I have to figure this out. And I found myself like just teeter-tottering on this balance beam of trying to figure it out and being anxious and being confused and being angry. And like, okay, I'm just going to try to trust God. In that process, I discovered that both can exist. I already knew this, but now I'm really walking it out. Both can exist where you're battling, you're angry, you're asking questions, you are nervous about what lies ahead, and you're doing it with God. You're trusting him with those questions. You're trusting him with that anger. You're trusting him with those emotions, but you're still feeling all of that stuff. You know, like oftentimes we feel like as believers, we just never should question God and we should just think that everything is great all the time. Newsflash, Jesus had emotions. He flipped tables when he was angry. He cried when he was sad. He sweated tears of blood when he was anxious. Come on now. He felt emotions. Someone who was the fullness of God and the fullness of man, of humanity, felt emotions. Right? So I'm really preaching to myself. So, the Lord showed me like, hey, Olivia, like you could either be angry and frustrated and try to figure it out and not have any peace. Or you can be angry and frustrated and trust me that I will help you figure it out and find rest. After struggling with this side, I decided to lean towards the latter. And in that process, the Lord reminded me of a content creation company that I launched a few years back where I make website designs, where I build websites and do graphic designs and logo creation. And he was like, yeah, if you just get a couple of clients a month, your living expenses will be covered. I don't have a job, but I do have this company that's kind of been a little dormant. What are you saying? Like, should I be full-time entrepreneur? That sounds crazy. But then I'm like, full-time entrepreneur. I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur. Monday, I end up returning back here to the crib. And I'm like, yes, I'm about to be a full-time entrepreneur. Full-time entrepreneur. Woo, full-time entrepreneur. What's next? So I ended up calling my guy. I actually interned for him in college. It's crazy how God works everything together. I went to Kent State University. Go Flashes. I did the fashion design program. Everybody had to have an internship our junior year. Everybody got really cool internships like Macy's and Kohl's. And I just ended up interning for this guy because I really struggled to find an internship. So I just interned for this guy in the city of Akron who has a t-shirt business. Crazy. So all these years later, we stayed in touch throughout the years, but I ended up calling him up and I'm like, yo, so how do you do full-time entrepreneurship? And so he's like, yo, Liv, what's good? So I'm actually going up to my studio tonight. Let's meet at the studio. We could talk about it in person. I could just kind of share with you, my journey, what's going on. And so I kind of tell him like, yeah, I think I am about to do full-time. I'm about to be a full-time entrepreneur. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I end up coming up to the studio. It's an awesome place. I'm just like, wow, I'm just blown away. Like, what? I'm like, wow, like this is awesome. So we end up having a conversation. Within that conversation, he shares with me, hey, everything that you do live, like your personality, everything that you do creatively, I have clients that need that stuff. Like, I don't do that stuff. Like, what I do is cinematic videography and photography, and I can handle a bunch of like ingenuitive, like technical stuff. But as far as like designing graphics and websites, like, I have clients that need that. He's like, we could go into business together and we could build something that people are like, we've never seen done before. So after that conversation, I end up, thinking it over and stuff like that. We end up meeting up again that week. We end up drafting up a legal contracts of my services, his services, what we're going to offer together. We have other eyes review it. And y'all, within me saying that I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur, within days, I am now working full-time in partnership at a content studio in partnership with another creative. We went into business together. Within that same week, we ended up landing our first client, and I designed a website for him, which was a whole crazy story. But y'all, are y'all following the story or what? All of this happens. I think I'm about to get that opportunity. That falls through, and I end up going into business in partnership with the entrepreneur. I end up going into full-time entrepreneurship, working at a content studio. It was crazy to wrap my mind around the work that I would have to do for hours and hours and hours, the pay that I would get for the work that I had to do for hours and hours and hours. Job number one, I literally could land a few clients and make that money and not do anything much besides design for them, whatever it is that they're asking for their brand. We ended up landing some crazy opportunities. We got to produce content for the Nike LeBron shoe release. So they did a shoe release called Message in a Bottle. It was really big in the city of Akron. We ended up live streaming the event. We got some great partnerships and opportunities from there, networking all over, connecting with people, telling people that I work in a content studio. Like, God took me on this crazy journey all after I left my job. Then in the middle of the hype of my entrepreneurship journey, I have a dream that I went back to my old job. And now it wasn't like, it was just such a detailed, intentional dream. In my journey, so I ended up going back to my old job because I needed a job. On my journey of going back there, my brakes ended up going out in my car. And I ended up getting back there, and a bunch of other details happen in the dream that was like super specific. So I'm in my hype of my entrepreneurship journey. Everything is great. I'm, collabing. All these things are happening. And then like clients, not getting them. Just starts completely drying up. I feel like God really kind of shifted that opportunity a lot. And so now I'm kind of like, okay, Lord, I'm not really getting clients, but hello, I have a whole home. I have bills. I literally have to, this isn't sustainable. Like, it went from being a great journey to like, now this is not sustainable. And so I remember just kind of seeking God, and he was just like, yeah, you can go back to job number one now. And I'm like, what? And it kind of brought like panic. I was just like, no, I can't go back. Like, I left. I can't go back. It brought shame, all these things. And so a couple of days later, I end up asking God again, like, okay, Lord, I haven't landed any clients. Like, I'm praying for God to bring clients. And he's like, no, but you can go back. So then I'm like, it brought peace. And I said, okay, I'm going to go back. Mind you, I forgot a really important detail. When I had that dream that I went back to my job, my old boss at the time texted me that same day. So I had the dream that I went back to my old job. I needed to get a job. My brakes ended up going out of my car. My old boss texted me that same day. I was just like, no way. Nah. So fast forward to when I asked the Lord, what am I going to do? My brakes ended up like decaying in my car. I don't know what the heck happened. The brakes was just not braking. Keep your kids out the street, okay? Couldn't drive my car at that point, so now I don't have a car. And I went I'm like, I need to go back because I need to get a job. Literally like the dream. So I ended up reaching out to my boss that texted me, and she's just like, hey, Liv, like, come on back. Like, we love you. You're great. And I ended up starting back at that company. But here's how God is just so good. I ended up starting back at that company and still having connections at the content studio. But that church that I ended up going to, my coworker was like, hey, check out this church. Those people ended up being my people, and I was praying for community and praying for a space where I really felt connected and really felt like rest, where I could breathe and I could just be me. And like, it's like God took me on this crazy journey, right? Because what happened at the beginning of the year of 2023, this year, I was like asking the Lord, like, Lord, I kind of want to like experience like some different community. Like, I want to go in a different direction. Like, I don't feel like I really want to be planted here at this place where I was currently going to worship at anymore. And I just kind of felt, that toil like in my spirit. So then months later, they ended up pulling the job. My coworker's like, hey, check out this church. And then at the church, there was that job opportunity that didn't come through, but it allowed me to go into my entrepreneurship journey where like now I can make more money than I ever could before working full time for this organization. And then from there, I end up getting connected to the most amazing church family ever. That's just like, whoa, like that's crazy. How? Like, how? And then God is like, yeah, you can go back to your old job now. It's kind of like the Lord allowed me to leave just so that he could answer my prayer and expose me to all these different people and opportunities. Also during the summer, while I wasn't at my job, I have a ministry called 627 Ministry LLC, based off of the scripture Matthew 6:27, which states, how can worrying add a single hour to your life? It caters to everything that women and men worry about that produces insecurity. Our mission is to deconstruct insecurities formed by worries. I ended up hosting a women's retreat that summer called Daughter Believe. And it was just about everyone who's just trusting God and believing the Lord for specific miracles and the specific promises. Yes, the promises in scripture, but the ones that the Lord specifically gave them. And so all this stuff ends up happening in my journey when I left my job. And then I ended up coming back. I ended up coming back refined, different, with a new attitude. Ended up coming back and there was a lot of changes, a lot of challenges, stuff that God revealed to me in my dream that I didn't necessarily think was an important detail. I saw unfolding when I came back. Ended up having a conversation with a previous coworker, and she was just like, I'm so glad you're back. Like, we need you. What you bring, your joy, your enthusiasm to the atmosphere, we need this. And so I started to see why God had me leave when he did, kind of. He took me on this adventure, and now opportunity number 2 that I thought I was walking into, I actually discovered throughout the summer that they also have a church home as well. And so I ended up going there, and that is now my place of worship, my people. I love them. And I ended up gaining a pretty dope mentor from that opportunity as well. So I didn't end up getting that job.
But I gained so much more.
But like looking back, it's like, oh God, I see this was what you wanted all along. Like, you wanted me to trust you. You want me to let go of control and go on this journey with you. And you always provided. I never went without. I never not had bills paid. Like, when I was a full-time entrepreneur, baby, the bills was always paid. Like, I would get clients like at the last second. I just wanted to show you a different side of me. I wanted you to trust me. But he ended up restoring even more. Oh, that's the thing, y'all. They asked me to come. Like, when I came back with a new title and more money, baby, more money. You know what I'm saying? So it's like God was like, hey, because that pilot program that I was overseeing did end. They didn't end up continuing that. So I ended up coming back with a different title and higher salary. So it was like, I don't know, really interesting how God like kind of allowed everything to happen. So for those of you who God might be telling you to launch out, yeah, begin something, stop something, start something, trust him. You won't know the details. It'll be so uncomfortable. But I guarantee you he's going to take you on a journey. And that doesn't mean that it's going to turn out how you want it to. Because I thought I was going to get that other job. Didn't end up getting that. Ended up going on a beautiful journey of entrepreneurship. Thought I would arrive there. But all that happened all for the Lord to bring this whole thing back around full circle. Like, actually, nah. Need you to go back to where you started. Because there's work for you there. and you're going to go back better. So I'm grateful for the time that God grew me and all the lessons that I learned in the journey that I'm continuing to learn as well. So this has been your girl Liv. That is the story at the time I left my job. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. It was kind of a long story. It's a lot of different details, but I'm here to encourage y'all as I, continue to ask the Lord on like what he wants this channel to look like as I build it out. Let's go on a journey together. Let's build together. Let's grow together, and let's live abundantly.